Hello, everybody, and I'm back with a new theory. So it's been a while, but I've already made a post. Check it out. And why I've been gone for so long. So now I'm back with a new theory, and that theory is truth about FNAF 4. So let's get right into it. The main question that most of the FNAF community has is, who do we even play as in FNAF 4? The ma- there are only two characters that could possibly be the player characters, and that is Michael, Afton, and the Crying Child. There are many, many arguments for both sides. So I'm going to explain the main ones. First of all, let's start off with the theory that Michael is the player character in FNAF 4. The main thing they mention is that in the survival logbook, he under recent dreams, he draws a picture of Nightmare Fredbear. This means that he has been having nightmares about the nightmares. And another thing is that in FNAF 4, we hear reversed audio of the FNAF 1 phone call, which would 100% debunk that the crying child had been tortured, right? But the counter argument for the crying child the arguments for the crying child being the player character in FNAF 4 is that the crying child had been is stated that in the character encyclopedia he had been tortured by the nightmares, which would completely confirm that he is the player character. In my opinion, it's both correct. My opinion is that the crying child had been experimented on by William, and then he had with the nightmares for agony research, which ended up creating Nightmare as seemingly a combination of the crying child and William's agony. So, and then the crying child ended up torturing Michael. Ended up torturing Michael with his memories. Uh, Michael with his memories. Now, this would also fix some plot holes, as this would explain why Michael's skin color is different in FNAF 4 and in sister location, as this could be just chopped up to the crying child's memory sucks. It's confirmed. It's been stated before that the memory of the people who died are foggy, so everything would make sense, especially if the crying child has brain damage. So yeah. My next though I do have more pieces of evidence besides this encyclopedia, that being the story Dittophobia. Now, I believe that Rory. Oh wait, I should probably mention that I haven't read the book, but this is based off of basically a summary of the story that I've watched on YouTube and also heard from the community themselves. So, if I do have any points wrong, please correct me. Now, let's get right into it. I personally believe that Rory is a parallel to the crying child. Why is this? Now, first of all, we know that the FNAF 4 bedroom, well, at least okay, first of all, Rory has the same bedroom as the crying child. Yet this could 100% be explained away with William just reuses that same bedroom. But there's something interesting. Rory and the crying child have the same toy. And Rory, I'm pretty sure, even acknowledges that it's his toy. The purple telephone. We know it's a crying child story because the faded text in the logbook, I'm not going to say who it is, even though most people believe it's Cassidy, the fifth missing child, says that was next to the picture of the purple, it says, "Was your favorite toy a purple telephone?" linking the purple telephone to the crying child. And if this toy is Rory's, then it would also link Rory to the crying child. So, but this is definitely the most loose piece of evidence that I have. The next piece of evidence is that, well, if I'm not mistaken, Rory's mother was a clean freak. Now, we don't know much about Mrs. Afton, but if you do remember my first theory video, I stated that there's somehow a connection between Mrs. Afton and Sun and Moon. Go check out that video. It was my second video I ever uploaded. It's still a pretty good theory, so, well, more so a hypothesis. It's more so a mini theory, but yeah, go check that one out. And we know, so if Sun and Moon are possessed by Mrs. Afton, or at least connected to Mrs. Afton, then we know that Sun and Moon are clean freaks, which would imply that Mrs. Afton was also a clean freak. I mean, the original. I mean, the way we distract Moon in the security breach is by creating a mess for him to clean up, by like knocking over those tower thingies. Now, the next pieces of evidence, if I'm not mistaken, please, Ivan, this is from what I've heard from the community. If I got anything wrong, please tell me. Roy's father was a workaholic, which is similar, which we know William was also a workaholic, which is another connection we can make between Rory and the crying child. Another thing is that Rory didn't feel loved in his original home. Now, this would 100% make sense with crying child. His mom's dead, and before she died, she was she was a clean freak, which I guess Rory didn't like. William was never there, and he was a workaholic. The crying child's siblings bullied him. Michael, the scary, and even Elizabeth, most likely, because Elizabeth and the Pigtail Girl have connections to each other, seeing as in the book Bunny Call, in the story Bunny Call, it seemingly has parallels to the Afton family. People have proposed, and that Cindy, who seemingly is a parallel to Elizabeth, is described to look exactly like the Pigtail Girl, creating a connection to these two, and the obvious design differences could easily be explained by crying child foggy memory. So with her, bullying him, scaring him a lot, so both of them were sort of bullying him and scaring him. And also William, torturing him. This would also create a concrete connection. Oh, and 10 years, and also when the experiment started, they were both 7. Well, technically the crying child was like a week before he turned 7, but same. It's close enough, okay? And the final piece of evidence is that the way that he communicates with his best friend through a walkie-talkie. And the thing is, the Fredbear plush is a walkie-talkie. And guess who's seemingly one of the crying child's close friends, if not best friend? Charlie. And Charlie, in my opinion, possessed the Fredbear plush at the end of FNAF 4 when she said, "I'll put you back together," creating a connection between, well, it's another piece of evidence. Oh, another thing that I noticed is that Rory has been tortured for 10 years, and 10 years after FNAF 4 is FNAF 1, which is pretty neat. And also seemingly when Michael started getting tortured by the crying child's memories. So that would definitely fit perfectly. So what does this all mean for the for FNAF 4? This is the story of FNAF 4. The crying child had been the crying child one day when William was out, he ran away. After all, William was an alcoholic and abusive. He had been lured out by, seemingly, the spring Bonnie suit. The reasoning for this is because the spring Bonnie suit in the Fredbear's location that we see in FNAF 2 was nowhere to be seen. It was only Fredbear, and the toes in the ground seemingly have a striking connection to look similar to glitch traps, a costume feat. So he had been lured out by the costume, seemingly possessed by William and the crying child's collective agony, which we know as Nightmare. The reason I believe this is because Nightmare is seemingly the one to torture the crying child. If what happens in Didophobia is supposed to parallel the crying child, which would mean that he's possessing Golden Freddy, he had been being tortured by an entity, which is most likely Nightmare. Oh, and Nightmare in that world would probably be connected to William. Also, I'm pretty sure there was a voice line that connected Nightmare with the William, but I can't remember. So Nightmare lured him out to the FNAF for experiment dreams. These have been used to study agony. As we've seen, multiple children had been killed by William in these experiments. So, as we see in, the story Didophobia. So now the crying child is the next victim of these. When William found the crying child, he was enraged and decided to make him one of the test subjects. He was also curious about why the spring Bonnie suit was here, and connected it to agony. Yet afterwards, the Nightmare had been following the crying child with the Fredbear plush that William gave him to keep an eye on him. Seemingly, William was the one talking, but the one teleporting around was Nightmare. Both of them seemingly working together. Which it makes sense because, we even see in FNAF 3, Shadow Freddy and William working together. Shadow Freddy is seemingly Nightmare. So it would make sense. Seemingly. So, he was bullied by Michael every day and was told that tomorrow, and we all know the iconic line, tomorrow's another day. And this culminated at his birthday at Fredbear's, where Michael and his friends took a prank too far. They put him in the jaws of Fredbear. Now, they wouldn't expect the normal animatronic to have that much force to crush a skull. Even MatPat. Now, this is also pretty confusing. Why would it have that much power? MatPat had made a theory on this, and he said that this would have to have been deliberate, which I think is true. But he said that that Fredbear was a killing machine. In my opinion, Nightmare had possessed Fredbear, and then he killed the crying child himself. And killed the crying child himself. And then we all know the cutscene at the end of FNAF 4 where Charlie says that she'll put him back together, and then the crying child ends up possessing Fredbear, since that's where his agony was, and then Fredbear was turned into Golden Freddy. As a sort of redesign to not associate with the Bite of 83. But then Spring Bonnie and Fredbear were just locked in this safe room. So, afterwards, oh, 1 second, I had to redo it. So the crying child had been tortured for 10 years until FNAF 1. This, when Michael came back, the crying child had been free because of his. The crying child managed to escape, and then his afraid. He wanted revenge on Michael because he was the one to kill him. He was the one to put him in this torment for 10 years. So that's when the dreams start happening, where the crying child shows him what he had gone through. All the memories, sort of playing on loop. This also, with also mixed memories from Michael, explaining why we hear the FNAF 191 phone call, but reversed. It's a torment, a torture, to make Michael suffer, to basically, as a twisted form of revenge. And that's FNAF 4. Oh, I should probably explain the Nightmare Night. Basically, for that, it's apparently until it's just a crying child torturing himself as Nightmare Fredbear. Then Nightmare takes over. It's not a failed illusion, this. No, it's Nightmare taking over. So, that's my theory. Please, I would like to hear your counter arguments in the comments, and if you have anything to add to this. I've been your host, Glitchstar, and see you all in the next video. Also, don't forget to subscribe, please. Bye-bye.